Hello YouTube friends. Here in the UK, tomorrow night, Sunday night, the hour changes and we start daylight saving, which means that it's an hour earlier or later, I can never remember which. It's lighter in the morning and darker in the evening. But I always feel a little bit duped because it feels to me like it's no lighter in the morning and an hour darker at night. So I have been doing some preparations for being warm this winter. The thermometer this morning read just about freezing, about 4 degrees. So here, yesterday, I went around the other side of the lake and collected pine cones, lots and lots and lots of pine cones, big basket full of them. Across the other side of the dam, there's a lot of Scots pines, a big stand of Scots pines. I love them. They're really lovely to walk through in the winter time because they kind of like a little bit warmer than when the wind comes howling off the lake on the other side there. So I collected pine cones underneath where the rooks live. There's a big rookery there. Brought them home and tipped them all out onto all this newspaper on my table. Now, of course, I brought them in from outside, so they were pretty closed up because pine cones close up in the wet and the cold and open up in the warm and the dry so that their seeds will fall out. On top of the stove, I got some washed out tins of cat food and some little scraps and bits of candles in green, white and red. Those jars there are just some leftover bits of candles. And while they were all melting away, I came outside again and I had a bit of a tidy up round the log pile and round where my egg honesty box is, and loads of stuff's just accumulated there. So I had a big old tidy up because I wanted to get some logs and some wood, some of that dry wood that's stacked there. So wheelbarrow, taking things into the garden and putting them in the places where they belong. Now here I'm selecting some wood from my wood pile there, and I'm particularly looking for wood that has a really nice straight grain with no knots in. This little thing here, my kids bought me this a few years ago. It's a Scandinavian invention, and I think they noticed me chopping kindling with an axe and realising that was probably very unsafe. I couldn't hit the same place twice with an axe. This thing is very safe. Children can use it because there's no sharp parts. The wedge that you put onto the wood there is actually quite blunt. You just put it along a bit of the grain of the wood and drop that heavy weight onto it, and it splits the wood. Now, the dry wood there over on the left, it's great for the fire, but I do need kindling to get the fire started. So I wish I could work this fast. But here I am on speeded up, cutting my big basket full of kindling with this amazing Scandinavian log splitter. It's a brilliant thing. So I did as much as I needed to fill the basket up of thinner wood. So here we go now. There must be loads of ways of twisting newspaper to make it into firelighters. I was taught this way, I can't even remember when, years and years and years ago. And so every autumn I sit and make a whole pile of these, and they're another form of kindling for the fire. 2 or 3 of these, and it's as good as having dry wood. So I made a whole heap of these. Now, in the past, newspapers used to be huge and you could make really long ones. Now these newspapers are all little tabloid size. Just watch here, you just tuck the end in the top there, like that, really tightly. And then my favourite bit, you unscrew it. And that's as good as kindling. So because I can't get broadsheets anymore, Oh, look, here I am making them super fast again. I have to put 2 pieces of a tabloid together. My dad collects newspapers for me. So this is something called the Southport Courier or something. Oh, and then I had my porridge. Okay then, so those pine cones, they'd all opened out beautifully, and the wax in those tins, those clean tins, had melted beautifully. Now, I put some of the melted wax into smaller pots off the heat, and then the idea is that these well opened up pine cones, dipped into the slightly cooler wax, will stick to the pine cone and make a fabulous firelighter. And because I like to mess about with things, there's some little bits of sparkly glitter stars going on there, and the pine cones are going to be white and green and red, obviously very Christmassy. So the white one there, it's just these are tea lights I melted, and a few sprinkles of you don't need that on for the firelighter part, but they look pretty. And then it is easier to do this if you take the wax off the heat, so that it cools down a little bit and sticks to the pine cone a little better. It did mean a bit of jiggling around, putting the wax back in the tin and so on. But, you know, I like messing about with things, you know I do. So in a minute, I think I get a green pot out to do the green ones. Yeah, there we go. So I put the green, it doesn't have to be a green pot, but it just happened to be. So I put the green melted wax. It was just a few candles I had that were those colours. Okay then, so yeah, I spend quite a long time doing this. This is really edited down. A couple of hours dipping pine cones into melted candle wax. They make fabulous firelighters though. A couple of these, a few bits of kindling, some of my paper twists. The fire's great. So there they all are, looking very Christmassy. Long way off Christmas yet, but there they are. Yeah, I think the longer things take to do, the more I like them. But they look fun, don't they? And they're very, very easy to do. You do need to let the pine cones dry out inside, though, so that they'll open up really well like that. So, we're coming on winter. Not yet, but soon. And so I was talking to my daughter-in-law the other day. She came round to spend the day quilting with me. She's making a quilt for her mum. And we had a lovely day doing that. And I was moaning on a little bit about it, the hour going on, the clocks and all of that, and saying, oh, the nights were drawing in. And she said, but Kate, she said, it's great because it's that candle time. I thought, oh, she's completely right. It is candle time. So I got the sitting room, or I'm sitting in the sitting room now. It's a few hours after I did this. I lit the fire. All the cats have made their way in, and there's Sadie, and we're just going to put another couple of logs on the fire. And I lit the candles on the hearth tonight. It's the first time I've done it this year. It's really warm and toasty. This is what it's going to be like now. Now that the nights are going to be darker. That's a lovely little candle shade that my nieces gave to me. So this sitting room is where I am now. It's very cosy and very green. I like it a lot. Oh, and there on the left is the pine cones and some of the twisties in the baskets there. So as I was settling down for the evening, all the cats were making their way to the warmest part of the house like they always do, coming to join me. There's Norma there, finding a best spot to settle down. Prudence mooching in. And then Rita is still asleep there on that blanket on the end of the sofa. And Norma finally settled down in what's usually Sadie's spot. But Sadie's somewhere else, I don't know quite where. And Prudence likes it there because it's very near the radiator as well. But I want to show you this cat. This is Rocky. And he's a stray cat who comes to my windowsill most nights, and I feed him. He won't come in, he won't let me stroke him. He's just this feral cat. He won't let me anywhere near him, but I put out a big bowl of food for him every night. I don't see him in the summer, but every night in the winter I do. Winter, here we come.